we get into our game, I was asked this before with Don Fisher, and I think it's only appropriate to do it now with everyone, with the loss of Dean Smith. And I knew him a little bit, so I can't say that I had a friendship with him, but I was an assistant coach at Western Kentucky and Michigan State. In fact, Tom Izzo's second college game was against Dean Smith in North Carolina. And but what stood out to me with him, and meeting him on Nike trips when I was at Marquette, and I was on a committee once with him, for an award, he always made a coach feel like a coach. And that's big time when you've got a guy that's at that status, because we all know that he's a coach, and he would make other people feel like they were a coach just by referencing to you or asking you about your team or something like that. But there's so many things that he brought to the game. There's so many things that he brought to coaching, and it's been well documented, and I think it will live out for a long, long time. And I think when you start to think about what he did with situations, what he did with strategies, what he did with offense and defense, and all the different things that he did, those things will stand the test of time. Well, the other thing that will stand the test of time is the unselfishness that his teams played with. And I'm sure it wasn't easy. He had some of the greatest players in the world. But the bottom line is those teams were unselfish. They rewarded unselfishness, and they were the model of unselfishness in so many areas for coaches, for young coaches, for everybody to look at. The biggest thing that always stood out to me, one thing I've never forgotten, is reading one time where one of his former players in the book said that Coach Smith probably has 3 or 4 favorite players, but the difference is every one of his former players think they're one of those 3 or 4. And I thought that was the greatest thing you could ever say about a coach. And certainly he'll be missed. And like I said, I don't profess to know him remotely close to what his players and coaches and friends know him at, but the respect is very high. And our condolences are with all the members of his family, certainly his wife Lene, and all the players and coaches that were with him, because they're just, he brought so much to sports, into basketball, into coaching. As far as today, one of the biggest things over the last 3 years, the difference in the 3 games over the last 3 years has been 1 free throw attempt with Michigan. Over the last 5 years, it's been 7 free throw attempts. And that's how close the games have been. We certainly didn't anticipate anything different than that. We knew that they would come in with great tenacity, energy, togetherness, all the things that John has built there. We knew they would come in with that, especially after the way they played on Thursday night. They couldn't have been happy with that. It was much like what we felt we would get from Rutgers last week after playing Michigan State. Well, they needed to get the same thing from us after our game with Wisconsin. So it was 2 teams that came into battle. I don't think any of us would take these games and call these our best games of the year, but I know our guys fought and his guys fought. And I think that's the bottom line. And fortunately, we were able to have the ball one last time, and we were able to get one more stop. And the free throw difference for us in the second half ended up being the difference in the game. We got 6 more free throw attempts. We made 4 than them, and we win the game by 3. So all those things matter. And what we're trying to get our team to understand is that whatever your mindset is about what you're going to do offensively or what you think the game is going to turn out, you're only as good as your ability to adjust. You're only as good as your ability to make the plays that need to be made when they need to be made. And we executed better coming out of timeouts. We stayed locked in. We stayed focused. We made our mistakes. We recovered from them. That's where our maturity is growing. And again, there's a lot of learning points from this game, as there is from every game. And it was a tale of 2 halves, especially with the scoring. But the bottom line is the way they're changing defenses, there's different attack points, and when our guys figured that out, stayed with that from practice, then we had success. When they're 1-3-1, we have to attack this way. When they're 2-3, we have to attack from this point. When they're man-to-man, we want to get to this. And it all ends up with getting that ball through the paint, getting the ball reversed, and making the next pass, when it all comes down to it. So, proud of our effort, proud to have that win against a team that was very hungry, and we'll look forward to getting ready for Maryland.
Tom, just getting back to Coach Smith, is there anything in particular that you've taken from him, either through his readings or his teachings?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that the driving thing would be how much time he spent on situations. And I'm sure there were a lot of coaches that spent that time, but he was the one that you really dove into it. And you see it now, even, you'd hope you see it in every team, but you definitely see it with Roy's teams. You saw it when Bill Guthridge was there, but there was always an answer and a strategy for everything. And I think they spent a considerable amount of time, when you look back at some of the books that have been privileged to see, where he'd have his practice plans in there. But you know what I think it is, Bob? I think we all could stand, and me included, we could all stand to go back and study some of those principles, because he was the ultimate in making sure that you were unselfish with your teammates. I mean, he really was. And it wasn't about the scoring averages, but about the way they rewarded each other with the point after the pass, and all the different, the humbling things, you know, that they made the young guys do. Those are all still things that can be done. But I would say the situations, to me, I would say as good as he was, the ability to change defenses, and then the unselfishness. Just that it is good, or it is cool, or it is whatever term you want to use, to be a really great player and have a great team that makes sure that your teammates get the credit. And I thought that that's some of the stuff that I've really taken, you know, from following him.
I guess with the success in close games in the last month and a half,
Mhm.
sort of peaks and valleys that come with them, I guess, how has this team been keeping his confidence, keep just even keel for them?
Well, I think they're playing through the fatigue. They're playing through the lulls. You know, when we do that, you're constantly trying to fight off that mental fatigue. And I think every team does. I mean, it's this time of the year. And for the young teams, I'm sure John's team is going through it too, because they're so young. You know, he's got key freshmen and sophomores, but especially those key freshmen like we do, that are playing considerable minutes with considerable responsibility. And it's not just the responsibility of scoring, it's the responsibility of what they have to do defensively. And then it's, you know, with us, we're a game plan team. I mean, so we could do something entirely different defensively for a game, all right? And really, we're getting to the point now where we're adding to the different bases that we have with our defenses. So it would be the 2-3 zone, or our combination, or our man-to-man. We're adding to it. But that takes a lot of mental wear and tear. And I think the fact that they are playing through that, we were really good today coming out of timeouts. That's a big step. And we executed. End of the half. And that was one where we had a play, and then Yogi improvised it a little bit, made a tremendous read, you know, when Colin got the read, because they jumped into a different zone. And I think they're growing with that. But they've come back, and we've had 3 really demanding days. It was a lot less 5-on-5, let's get ready for a game, and a lot more, we're always detailed. I mean, we're always fundamental, but I think it was even a lot more about the details. And they're learning they can't get bored with that, you know, because that's what wins and loses games. And we'll be able to show that off this film. And I think my coaches did a phenomenal job. They got this thing prepared on Wednesday. I went recruiting in New York, and they got this thing prepared with where we were struggling at defensively. And it was at another place in here for a couple of days. And Steve and Tim with the scout, and Chuck, I mean, just a tremendous job, you know, and I think that's a big part of this. I tell these guys all the time, I said, we got 5 former head coaches in that room, you know, plus me at 6. I mean, they've sat in that chair. So when they're telling you something, they're not telling you something that they hope happens. They're telling you something they've seen happen. And I think that's really important for us.
Yeah. Just, I guess, to sort of follow up on that, and I don't know how much it occurs or what, but you talked a lot about maturity in the offseason that needed to improve, obviously, on and off the floor. Are there moments, whether it's in the game or in film study, where you watch this team and you just kind of say, that wouldn't have happened last year, that play was
today,
made, that pass was
Sure, absolutely. I'm proud of these guys. I mean, and again, I say that, knock on wood, and cover it again. They're growing up. I mean, that doesn't mean we're not going to have another mistake, but they're making tremendous strides on and off the court. I'm proud of what they're doing. I mean, I'll give you a great example, and I said it to them after the game. A year ago, I mean, they're growing up. Hey, I'm not doing this. Troy made a mistake, something went wrong, okay? A year ago, it would have taken 4 or 5 minutes to get him back into that. And he was ready one play later. A year ago, I'd take him out of the game. You know, it doesn't mean that it went right. It doesn't mean that he played perfect. He just grew through it. You know, and that's what you want. I mean, there's constant steps in maturity. You're always doing the Roy Firestone thing, by the way. I'm really getting sick of that. But
told me who Roy Firestone was.
I know most of these guys in here don't know. Bob knows. A lot of people don't know. But that's the biggest thing. There's countless ways that they're growing up, on the court, off the court, and we just need to keep doing that every day.
Terry?
Is that kind of what you're trying to get out of Hunter today? Get him in each half just to see what
Well, yes and no. You got to feel it because we weren't sure till yesterday. He didn't get up and down the court. We knew there was certainly a chance on Thursday and Friday, but it was more after practice yesterday. Okay, we're going to be able to put him in, and would have been great to get him extended minutes. Yeah, but he wasn't ready for it. I mean, he just wasn't as fluid with it. But he's been through it now, so we'll get a couple of days of work, and we'll need him on Wednesday night and on next Sunday. So. Yes and no. I mean, that's why I went with Stan in the second half, defensively inside. We weren't doing a good job with their 5 men. The number one thing those guys do is rebound the basketball. And today they did more than that. And we let Donnell step and hit a 3. We know he's a 3-point shooter. We did a good job on B-Foul, but Ricky Doyle played the majority of the minutes. We covered that screen, on that flare screen on the backside for 3 days, and all of a sudden, we're running into it. And then we got to help, and then they get a layup. Those are the kind of mistakes that we haven't grown out of yet, but we can continue to learn from. So it really just became about really having great awareness at that position, and Honors missed too much time, and it wouldn't have been fair to him. And if he'd got off to a good start, maybe it's a little bit different, but it wouldn't have been fair to him to have that responsibility because they're doing so many different angle screening things with Ricky Doyle in there that we prepared for, but we didn't cover very well.
Okay, last question, Sam.
James Blackman Jr. was talking about how excited he was to get back. What was the extent of his injury and how much?
Well, he injured his ankle, and so it was just one of those things where he couldn't put enough pressure on it to perform. On Tuesday, we kept him out of practice. On Sunday and Monday, I tried at the walkthrough. He actually tried before the game, so it was really what he could deal with pain-wise, and it was just too much, So you don't want to injure it worse, and you don't want him to be favoring it, and it becomes what he can deal with type of thing. So we kept him out a little bit, and he's recovered, and he had some freshness, and guy getting a couple days like that, I was like going on a 3-week vacation body-wise, right? And so that helped, and he did a good job in the second half, because the game really became about getting it into the short corner and playing through the middle. And it became about that in the drive, because once we went through a span of not getting close enough to the bonus, then all of a sudden we were really getting fouled, and we had to keep cranking it up to get there so we could win the free throw part of this game, because it very much appeared it was going to come down to the end.
Okay.
All right?
Thanks.
Thank you.